So China's neighbor, the Kingdom of Bhutan, just got exposed for holding 11,000 Bitcoin, making them the fourth largest Bitcoin holder in the world. And don't get me wrong, all of that is interesting. But when we crunch the numbers, we will see that the Kingdom of Bhutan is actually holding 0.016 Bitcoin for every single citizen that is in the country. So is there something special about that 0.01 Bitcoin number that the Kingdom of Bhutan has accumulated for every citizen in their country? I believe there is. We're going to be talking about all of that and more in today's video. And we're going to be showing you why I think it's so interesting that Bhutan is neighboring China. Before we do any of that, and even tell you guys about the recent news, I want to crunch the numbers. And that's what I've done in this most recent tweet here. What I've done is I've looked at the 5 biggest Bitcoin holders in the world. So of course, we're talking about America. We're talking about China. As we can see by this list here, we're talking about the UK, the Kingdom of Bhutan, and El Salvador. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to calculate how much Bitcoin per citizen each country holds. Because I found it really interesting with this most recent news that the Kingdom of Bhutan only has a population of 786,000 people. You think that's crazy? Let's have a look here. We can see population of the Kingdom of Bhutan is 782,000 people. Yet they are the 4th largest Bitcoin holder with, as we can see by this number right here, 13,000 Bitcoin. So I wanted to have a look and actually calculate how much Bitcoin per person each country holds. In the Kingdom of Bhutan, I found that they held around $1,000 of Bitcoin per citizen. In El Salvador, it was about $55 per Bitcoin per citizen, which is very similar to the UK. And again, you'll notice a few similarities here. America also holds around that $50 mark. So they hold about $37 per citizen. And that is obviously because America holds 207,000 Bitcoin. We know that they're the biggest holder in the world, but they have 333 million people in their population. Okay, so I found that super fascinating that the Kingdom of Bhutan is head and shoulders above the rest when it comes to how much Bitcoin per citizen that country holds. And they actually hold a really, really interesting number of Bitcoin. If we really dive into the maths, we're going to dive into the maths in a little bit. I'm going to show you just how much Bitcoin I believe that you're going to need to get rich on a Bitcoin standard. And why I think the Kingdom of Bhutan has accumulated this very specific number, 0.01. You might remember it from a recent video that we did a while ago. That was on the bitcoinnews.com YouTube channel. But again, look at the title of this video. I showed you the full breakdown for how 0.015 Bitcoin was enough to make you rich. And the specific numbers that I came to in this video was I showed you that if we saw a Pareto's principle distribution of wealth onto a Bitcoin standard, we should actually expect to see around 80 million millionaires in the world. And as you can see by this arrow right here, you only need 0.015 Bitcoin to get amongst this new class of 80 million millionaires. And don't you think that's just coincidental or very interesting that the Kingdom of Bhutan right now is holding around $1,000 per Bitcoin per citizen, which works out to be 0.016 Bitcoin per citizen. I think it's absolutely fascinating. And again, I don't think there are coincidences. This could be a coincidence, don't get me wrong, but I'm not a big believer of coincidences. And as Rexona says in the chat here, legends are made out of small collections of 0.01 Bitcoins. Could not agree more. But let's start breaking down the news. We've broken down the maths a little bit of the Kingdom of Bhutan, but some people might not be familiar with who this country is, why we're so interested in them. Because they're a fascinating little country with a fascinating little story. So this article here came out in late 2023. The tiny Kingdom of Bhutan secretly held millions of dollars of cryptocurrency. Secretly being the key word there. So we can see the only reason we found this out was because this headline right here. The Himalayan kingdom has quietly been dumping millions of dollars into Bitcoin and crypto into BlockFi and Celsius. And we didn't learn this until the bankruptcy filings of BlockFi and Celsius were made public. Now, most people would know that since that announcement and since Bhutan got exposed for, making these investments into BlockFi and Celsius, most people know that the Kingdom of Bhutan actually doubled down, and they came out and they said, yeah, you know what? Well, we have actually been mining Bitcoin since 2019, and we've actually been buying Bitcoin since 2019. But we were never actually aware, or we didn't actually get the statistics for just how much Bitcoin the Kingdom of Bhutan held. Sorry, I've got distracted. I had a little bit of an alarm going off here. But until today, of course, there's been a little bit of an on-chain investigation into the Kingdom of Bhutan, which is why we're making this video today, which is absolutely fascinating. We can see here, the on-chain investigation was done by Arkham Intelligence. This was the same company or firm that tracked the 50,000 Bitcoin that Germany held and subsequently dumped when they did dump their Bitcoin earlier in the year. So we can see here, breaking, Bhutan's $750 million Bitcoin has been exposed and labeled by Arkham Intelligence. They found them, they busted them, they've got them. These holdings come from Bitcoin mining operations carried out by the Kingdom of Bhutan's investment arm, Druk Holdings. So that is their sovereign wealth fund, Druk Holdings. A little bit of a funky name, but that's who they are. And what I find really interesting is we can actually see that some satellite footage has exposed the secret mining operations in the Kingdom of Bhutan. And what's actually happened is they've actually used some timing analysis to confirm that the Kingdom of Bhutan has been mining Bitcoin for 5 years. As you can see, there's some pretty funky calculations and blockchain tracking going on that was used to expose the Kingdom of Bhutan's sovereign wealth fund for buying this Bitcoin. You can see they've linked them up to a Kraken exchange. They've even tracked down all of their addresses. As you can see, these are all of the addresses consistently mining Bitcoin on a daily basis, mind you. Look at that. Even today, over the past 3 hours, there's been 4 different transactions. 2.1 Bitcoin, 1.009 Bitcoin, 1.215 Bitcoin, 1.148 Bitcoin. Those are just lazy $50,000 and $100,000 chunks of Bitcoin being mined. Bhutan has constructed Bitcoin mining facilities in multiple locations. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And if you guys didn't know, the Kingdom of Bhutan has actually increased its Bitcoin mining operations from 100 megawatts to 600 megawatts. That's an increase of 500 megawatts. It's massive. We can see their public balance is now being doxed. So this is the Kingdom of Bhutan's public wallet. They're right now squatting on about $211 million worth of Bitcoin. Oh, sorry, $800 million worth of Bitcoin in their public wallet. I apologize, I need more caffeine. A little bit slow this morning, but you can see very clearly. Interestingly, they've got a little bit of Ethereum. I don't know why. They've got $1.55 million worth of Ethereum, but they've got $800 million worth of Bitcoin. So what's that? Like a 0.2% of their portfolio is invested into Ethereum. Who knows why? Maybe that was donated. Maybe that was a mistake. Why would you even make a 0.2% investment into Ethereum? It just doesn't make sense. But neither does what we're about to talk about in a moment. And that is a little bit about game theory and nation states. Because again, so far we've only talked about the facts. The facts are the Kingdom of Bhutan has a lot of Bitcoin. The facts are, before I get into speculations, you guys know I love speculations, but these are the facts. Let's go back to some numbers before we delve into speculation. You can see I ran some more numbers. I thought these numbers were interesting. I wanted to not only look at how much Bitcoin the Kingdom of Bhutan has on a per citizen basis, but I wanted to also look at it based upon a GDP basis. So as you can see here, I've gone and calculated the GDPs of the top 5 largest countries around the world. The US, $25 trillion GDP, China, $18 trillion GDP, the UK, $3 trillion GDP. Look at the drop off to the Kingdom of Bhutan, $2.7 billion GDP. So this means the UK has a GDP that's 1,000 times larger than the Kingdom of Bhutan. As you can see, these are the official metrics. I've calculated these metrics for not only El Salvador, Bhutan, China, the US, the UK. I went straight to the source and I popped them all in this tweet right here. And what I found really interesting is the Kingdom of Bhutan has actually invested $500 million into Bitcoin mining. This represents around an 18 to 19, I rounded up to 20% investment as of their GDP. So their GDP is 2.7 trillion, 500 million into Bitcoin mining. That's about 20%. Now, what I think is really interesting is let's compare that to America. So naturally, again, this is maybe where a little bit of speculation comes into it. We're going to speculate more when China comes into the picture. But let's assume Bitcoin continues to increase in value in the future. Well, that means these nation states who have been able to put 20% of their GDP into Bitcoin, they are going to accrue more value. They're going to grow disproportionately larger than any country who is ahead of them who does not put 20% of their GDP into Bitcoin, or who does not buy $1,000 of Bitcoin per citizen. And again, that's not going to be doable in the future. These large countries are not going to be able to buy 0.015 Bitcoin for every single one of their citizens like the Kingdom of Bhutan has. Again, the only reason they've been able to do that was because of their tiny population. Where was their population? It's here. The Kingdom of Bhutan has less than 1 million people in their country. That's absurd. It's the only reason they've been able to accumulate $1,000 worth of Bitcoin per person. Más o menos, more or less. That's Spanish for more or less. Okay? We can see here, we're looking at the GDP. For America to make an equivalently, is that a word? Large investment, they would need to make a $5 trillion investment into Bitcoin. So again, if America has a GDP of 25 trillion, what's 20% of that? 5 trillion. So for them to stay equal with the Kingdom of Bhutan and to keep their distance ahead of the Kingdom of Bhutan, America would need to make a $5 trillion investment into Bitcoin mining, into an industry that's only $1.2 trillion in size. Okay, the total Bitcoin market cap is $1.2 trillion. Bitcoin mining is a lot smaller than that. It's feasibly impossible for America to get that 20% allocation. Impossible, absolutely impossible. So this is why I think Bitcoin is this decentralizing force. It's this beast that is going to shrink these large, bloated Western nation states, and it's going to, help these smaller nation states rise up, like El Salvador, like the Kingdom of Bhutan, like Oman, who's invested $1 billion into Bitcoin mining, like Saudi Arabia. The UAE's invested multiple billions of dollars into Bitcoin mining. These countries are simply going to be able to get bigger and climb the leaderboard and eventually catch up to these nations who have become so bloated and so large purely as a function of the fiat system. So I think it's a beautiful thing. I think it's super interesting what the Kingdom of Bhutan is doing. I had some fun running the numbers on the Kingdom of Bhutan. Now, that was all of the, let's say, straightforward facts. I promised you guys speculation. And I want to speculate because I think it's super interesting that the Kingdom of Bhutan is on the border of China. As you can see by this, let's say, very, very interesting map here. Do you guys think it's a coincidence? I don't know. I really don't know. But as we're going to see, and as I'm going to show you guys in this video, I want to also show you guys that Southeast Asia, this is something we've talked about a lot, has some of the highest Bitcoin adoption rates in the world. Forgive my blurry image. It's not the best. It's a little bit blurry. I'll get you a better one. But what this is showing is the 10 highest places for adoption around the world. And I find it very, very interesting that 10 of them, that 6 of them, mind you, are in Southeast Asia. And the Kingdom of Bhutan is not even included on this list. But before I get into speculation, before I talk about why I think the Kingdom of Bhutan could be America's equivalent to El Salvador, I want to first give a massive shout out to our show sponsor, Stampseed. I always remind you guys, most people are making a pretty pivotal mistake with their custody setups. So many people, I know a lot of people. I know because I used to be one of them. I used to be somebody who would write down my 12 words and my 24-word Bitcoin backup phrases on paper. We all know paper is not a Bitcoin solution. Paper should not be a part of your Bitcoin backup storage solution, okay? Again, paper is not going to survive, okay? It can't even survive a little bit of water on it, let alone for years, okay? So again, always encourage you guys, check out what Stampseed is doing. They're creating these beautiful titanium plates for you guys to back up your Bitcoin private seed words on. As you can see by these snazzy little videos, Stampseed has fireproof titanium plates. They are the industry standard when it comes to Bitcoin storage. And absolutely everyone, if you have a hardware wallet, you really, really should be taking your Bitcoin investment to the next level, okay? You should be taking your Bitcoin storage solution to the next level. You should be backing up your Bitcoin on titanium, okay? I'm always going to show you guys how sexy these plates are. They are incredible. I apologize if you can't see me. I was running around the home trying to find my plates. I didn't know where I put them. I was trying to do a little bit of cleaning up yesterday. As you can see, these puppies are clean. You get this really cool little stamping kit when you buy something from Stampseed. You don't only get that, you get everything. You got a hammer. You got absolutely everything you need if you're going to take your Bitcoin storage to the next level. So again, guys, you can get 15% off absolutely anything you want to buy from Stampseed with a promo code Luke15. All of that is going to be linked down below in the description for you guys to check out. Now let's talk about speculation. Now again, so far we're 17 minutes in the video. We got 309 of you guys on the live chat. Thank you to everyone tuning in. So far we've stayed away from speculation, but now let's speculate. Some people have speculated, okay, if America were hypothetically going to embrace Bitcoin in the future, it would be wise for them to, let's say, make a closed door deal with a very small nation who might be using the US dollar as legal tender already to adopt Bitcoin and say, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, can you adopt Bitcoin? Just see how the rollout goes for 5 years, find out all of the kinks in the process, and then report back to us with a plan for how we could hypothetically do it in the future. Again, this is just speculation. And I think it makes a lot of sense. If you were America, hypothetical situation, tinfoil hats on, would you not make a little deal with El Salvador? Again, El Salvador and America has really interesting ties and connections. There's a reason El Salvador has been so dangerous for the past 30, 40 years. All their criminals got shipped from America to El Salvador. Again, just speculation. Could be a little bit of a pineapple on pizza speculation. It's a little bit of a left curver. One out of left field, I should say. Why would China not be doing the same with the Kingdom of Bhutan? Why would China not say, hey, Bhutan, you're on our border. You literally live right next to us. Could you run a little bit of an operation and just see how you go? Mining Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin. Hey, try to go get some US dollar stablecoin loans from Celsius and BlockFi. We want to see how you go with it. Just speculation. But again, the US and China right now is squatting on the 2 largest stockpiles of Bitcoin in the entire world. That's public. There's no speculation. There's no guessing. That's math. That's facts. I don't think it's such a crazy hypothetical world to say maybe the Kingdom of Bhutan could be part of China's secret Bitcoin plan. Just an idea, just a speculation. With all that said, guys, stay tuned to the Kingdom of Bhutan. I think Rex Owner here says if the US adopts Bitcoin, probably many more nations will do the same. That's exactly right. So if the US publicly adopts Bitcoin, it's going to accelerate game theory really quickly. And the US wouldn't make that public announcement until they've privately got a lot of coins and just speculation, but maybe privately have a plan to roll out Bitcoin adoption. This is also a great point about the Kingdom of Bhutan. They have incredible hydroelectric power in the Kingdom of Bhutan. That whole region has a lot of excess energy. So the Kingdom of Bhutan only has 780,000 people living in the country. So they don't need a lot of energy. There's not a lot of demand for energy. That's also another contributing reason for why they are mining so much Bitcoin in their country. 20% of their GDP is invested into Bitcoin mining. That's huge. Bitcoin Buddha. I'd love to know your comments in the chat. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay? Greetings, Johnny Midas, the man who's never missed a live stream here on the channel. With all that said, guys, hope you enjoyed that video. It wasn't just speculation based. There's a little bit of maths up front. Maths I thought that was really interesting. Do you think there'll be another country that will accumulate more than $1,000 or 0.015 Bitcoin per citizen and beat the Kingdom of Bhutan? I don't know. I honestly think it's going to be pretty difficult purely because this country is so small. They're a tiny little country. So all that said, thank you so much to the 346 of you guys who tuned in. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. We are actually going to be going live again in a few hours' time over on the bitcoinnews.com YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that if you want more Bitcoin content. And with all that said, I'll see you guys.